Hi, I'm Wesley with TreeNewal, and I'm here with James Allen, also from TreeNewal. And today we're going to be talking about urban tree stress. How are you doing, James?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. So, we live in a big urban area. DFW is huge. It sprawls all over 2, 3, 4, 5 counties. And we see a lot of urban tree stress.
Yeah, we definitely do. And I think a lot of it has to do with poor soil quality.
Yeah, so urban soils are pretty different from rural soils.
Yeah, 100%. Whenever we go in there and we take off all the organic matter and we start, having a lot of heavy traffic, whether that be machinery or foot traffic or, even just, putting pavers down or something like that, it can definitely, affect the soil quality.
Yeah, so we're already starting off with pretty heavy clay soils in most of DFW. It makes it hard for air and water to get down to the roots, and then like you mentioned, we're taking a lot of organic matter off, construction activities, removing topsoil, and on top of that, the way we manage our landscapes kind of lends itself to being a poorer quality soil.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that a lot of people know that trees, they produce oxygen, but they also need oxygen in the soil too. So all those things that you're talking about, especially with clay soil, which we have a lot of, reduces the amount of oxygen that's in the soil.
Right. So without the organic matter also, it kind of affects the overall soil health, if you will.
Yeah.
The soil health is important for the roots.
Yeah. Well, it's probably the most important thing to keep a tree healthy, all that organic matter just helps feed the soil. It helps break down the soil. It, does a lot of good things for it. And we're constantly, the way that we manage our landscape isn't very conducive to tree health. We pick up all the leaf litter. We want to irrigate for specific plants and grass, and it's just not conducive to tree health.
So, James, we get a lot of calls this time of year. Go out there and look at the tree. There's some scorch on the leaves. The tree's dropping some leaves. And I look at the tree and I tell my customer that this looks like drought stress. A lot of times they're surprised because they've got a sprinkler system and they're watering their lawn 2 times a week, 3 times a week. And they don't expect it to be drought stress on their trees. And I have to explain that the sprinkler system is really more designed to water the turf, and that turf is intercepting most of that water before it ever gets down to the tree. So unless they have a deep watering to recharge that lower soil moisture, there's going to be drought stress on that tree.
Yeah, and I think last year was a good example of, people not really understanding that, even if you've never had to water your tree, specifically before, when we're in an extreme like that, and we're going through a drought, just because it's a drought tolerant tree doesn't mean it wants to go through a drought. It definitely wants to, be adequately watered. And the best way to do it is to, go out there and water it deeply and then check. You don't just keep watering it deeply, all the time. You need to go out there and see, is this soil dry or is it wet? And if it's dry, well, that might be a good time to water, especially if you're in a month, that's a hot month and a dry month.
Yeah, you make a good point that some trees can tolerate the drought, but that doesn't mean they enjoy it.
Yeah.
And they'll do a lot better if you give them a good deep soaking just periodically, every week or every 10 days at the most, so that tree has a good dry down period.
Yeah, so it doesn't shut down. I think that's a great idea. Just go out there and check. And, I always tell people, a lot of times you can put common sense into it. If you know that you haven't watered this tree, in 3 weeks and we haven't had rain, and you go out there and the soil is dry, it's probably drought stress, or vice versa. If you've watered this tree every day or every other day, and you go out there and tree is showing you stress signs and you start digging and it's soppy wet, it's probably too much moisture.
Yeah. One rule of thumb is if you can take a screwdriver and you can easily push it into the soil under the tree, it's good. And if you can't easily push it in, or it's real hard, your soil's concrete, you can't get that thing in, then it's time to do a good deep watering. Yeah. So, another problem we have with urban trees is the heat island effect. it's a real thing here. And here in town, the nighttime low temperature might be 8 or 10 degrees higher than in the surrounding countryside. So those trees, they don't get that cooling off period, and it causes a lot of stress for them.
Yeah, I agree. That's why you can, look in some of these parking lots, that are covered in concrete, and all these trees just look burnt up and stressed out and just like they're not happy.
They've got poor quality soil, they've got small planting area, and they got all that heat radiating up out of all the concrete, all the asphalt, and it just keeps the temperatures high, and it creates water stress and heat stress, and we got to account for these things when we're planning management on our urban trees.
Yeah. Well, if you think about that concrete or that median that it's planted in, it's like, a giant little bowl. It doesn't have anywhere to go besides inside of there. The roots will fill up that entire area, and it's just poor, utilization of soil.
Right. And then all the construction activities that are taking place around the pre-existing trees, the trees that we try to maintain as we're developing an area, you get soil compaction, grade changes in drainage patterns. All these things create a lot of stress for trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And some trees are more tolerant of it, but a lot of the trees that we're trying to keep whenever we're doing that developing, post oaks or native, red oaks or whatever, depending on where you are, they're not tolerant of it. Even putting, half an inch or an inch of soil for some trees or taking it away is a big deal.
Yeah, it can even be a death sentence.
Yeah,
for some. Especially bigger, more mature trees that don't tolerate a sudden change in their environment very well.
Yeah.
There are some trees that we can plant here that are very tolerant of urban conditions, things like air pollution, high ozone or particulate deposits in the trees, and some are less tolerant. But our trees actually are really important for helping clean that pollution out.
Yeah, and there are specific trees that can help, with air pollution and just make the overall air quality better.
Yeah. So if you've got some stress trees in your urban situation, your home, your office, and you need some help, come give us a call at TreeNewal. Come see us at our website. We'd love to help you out and give you a certified arborist consultation. James, any other final thoughts?
No. I think it's just real important to remember when you're dealing with mature trees that, every little bit that you can do to help preserve them, stay away from them, as much room as you can give them, you'll have the best chance for that tree to, not succumb to that stress.
I agree. Thanks.